Hey everyone, I'm sorry I couldn't record a video for you sooner in the week. My regular job is a bit busier this time of year, especially in the front half of the week. So I typically record these videos on Thursday anyway, with the game being on Thursday. Just kind of works out this way. So I'm not even sure how many of you I will even reach, but I wanted to put something up for the channel because I think we're all feeling pretty good after the week 1 victory over Arizona. I wouldn't say we were feeling good going into halftime. The Bills certainly struggled coming out of the gate. You know, we get to the 2-minute warning of the first half, and Josh Allen has 2 pass attempts. He's 2 for 2 passing. And the Bills are down 17-3. But they have the opportunity to double dip at the end of the half and at the front end of the third quarter, which they're able to do and tie the game up. And from that point on, I never really felt like the Bills were going to lose. I would say I didn't feel like the Bills were going to lose really throughout the entire game, to be honest with you, but the length of the Arizona drives was frustrating, the way they were able to stay on the field on third downs, and, you know, a gift penalty, a gift fumble by Josh, which he just has to feel. I think, you know, that just sucks, because, like, the discourse around him all the time is the turnovers, and that one is squarely on him. He clearly has enough time in the pocket. The Bills are set up with great field position following a long drive by Arizona to start the game that should have been a field goal, but it's aided by a really bad call, a really bad, you know, roughing or unnecessary roughness call that leads to a touchdown. And the Bills start on the plus side of the field, and a couple plays later, they've turned it over again. And Arizona continues to chew clock. Like, that's what happened. That's how the Bills found themselves in that 17-3 position. So it was not the best way to start opening day, for sure. But credit to the Bills. I have harped on them in previous years for being front runners, and this time they are able to stage a 14-point comeback. Let alone might not be against, you know, the best team in the league, but I mean, they had you. They had you early on, and you were left with no choice but to battle back, and the Bills were able to do that. Josh just outstanding, especially in the second half when he finally got the ball. Of course, the Arizona really couldn't stop the Bills all that much. The Bills were stopping themselves. I think the Bills punted, maybe once or twice. There was the turnover. The Bills scored a couple of touchdowns, obviously, in the second half. I didn't really feel at any point like the Bills were just going to stall out on offense and not be able to score points. But when silly things happen, like things that really are out of your control, such as refereeing, that is like where I'm going back to the that silly penalty. It was, I believe it was called on, was it called on Jamarcus Ingram? Just ridiculous. You might say that the Allen one, the one that it was made up for. Okay, I'm not going to harp on it too much, but it might have been made up for because Allen got called for, or there was a roughing call on Allen, and it was questionable. It looked like in, you know, regular speed, like it might have been a face mask, but it wasn't at all. They got under the collar, and maybe that's a penalty. To be honest with you, I don't know if the front collar or the front jersey, like right here, ripping him down by it is a penalty. But they threw the flag. We're going to take those. The Cardinals took the one in the first quarter. We're going to take those too. Just how it goes. Where was I before that? The silly things that happened. Sorry. The kick return. The Bills go up 31-20 with like 8 minutes left, and you think, okay, we're made here. We're good. And then they allow a kick return touchdown. And, like, this is how bad teams stay in games. Or, like, you know, this is how good teams lose, is fluky things. That's what inferior teams generally need to beat better teams. And not that a kick return is a total fluke, but, like, it should be something that you were able to cover. And I know that with the new kick return dynamic and the dynamic kickoff or whatever it's called, there's probably still some, you know, learning curve with both teams, but it made us all sweat. Suddenly, you're up 11 with 8 minutes to go. You're thinking we're about to get this home, and then suddenly it's a 3-point game with, again, 8 minutes to go, or 7:45 or whatever it was. You know, 30 seconds later in the game. I still don't agree with the decision by the Bills to kick the field goal, even though it worked out, which means they'll probably end up doing it again. I think that one of the major criticisms of Coach McDermott in his time here has been his approach to strategy and things like that, things of that nature, like such as what I'm referring to. The sorry, I sound like the such as I sound like the Miss America contestant right now. The criticism, one of the primary criticisms around him has been strategically based. Get your words out, Craig. What is wrong with you right now? See, I'm kind of trying to hurry. I don't want to make a really long video because you don't have a bunch of time to watch it before the game starts. So whatever. Even if I only get 15 views, I don't care. I made it for you guys, you know. Anyway, I just don't think the play there is to go up 6. If you would ask me who I would have rather been, I would have rather been the Bills all the way up until the point where they kicked that field goal. Here's the reason. This is pretty straightforward. A lot of you probably know this, but if you don't, here's the reasoning behind that. You are now giving Arizona the extra down, the 4th down, all the way up the field. Of course, they're going to do it on their own side of the field. Of course, they're going to go for it on 4th down all the way. But once they get on your side of the field, they're now not going to take the field goal to tie the game. They have to go for the touchdown. And if they get the touchdown, the extra point is still like 95% or something. So like they got an over 90% chance of beating you if they get in the end zone, plus the extra down. So that's why people call it the field goal of death. It's earned that name on social media. The field goal of death is to go up 6 late in the game. And McDermott even kind of acknowledges sometimes that might not even be the best strategy, but he does it anyway, and it works out. So I anticipate he would do it again. Maybe the strategy is different if they're on the road or if they are playing a different caliber of opponent. I don't know, but it probably shouldn't be. But I do got to give them credit because the defense was outstanding in the second half. For as good as Kyler Murray was in the first half, they hit maybe one play in the second half, and it was like a broken down scramble for Murray that crossed midfield and led to another field goal for Arizona. I mean, they got nothing in the second half. Greg Rousseau was awesome. Von Miller showed up and got a sack, and some people were like, oh, he just touched him down. He actually pushes the right tackle into Kyler Murray, and their feet get caught up, and then he falls. So, I mean, yeah, that's a sack for Von. So that was encouraging. They played a little bit, I think, less rotation on the defensive line even, which I thought was kind of cool. They had a lot of Rousseau, a lot of Oliver, and a lot of Daquan Jones, and I think those are I don't think it's even really debatable, those are probably their 3 best run stoppers. So maybe in this, now that they don't have the Jordan Phillips and this Shaq Lawson's, they're going to play maybe a bit more. They're going to play these guys maybe a bit more, I guess is what I should say. You got to give him credit. You have to give him credit, even if you're not the biggest McDermott fan, which I know some of you aren't, especially based on my comments on the video last week. You have to give him credit for that second half performance, especially. Great job by, I didn't want to skip over somebody. Cam Lewis I didn't want to skip over, of course, because he had to step in for Taron Johnson, who is going to be out really an undetermined amount of time. He hasn't gone on IR, so that's encouraging, which maybe the Bills believe he'll be back within less than 4 weeks. We haven't heard a break in his arm. It was a forearm injury. He didn't leave the field right away, but when he did, he didn't come back. And like I said, they haven't announced a break, like a break in his arm, because that would seem pretty straightforward. Like, oh, you need surgery, we'll fix it, you'll be back on the field in about 6 weeks. They haven't said anything like that. So it's a bit odd, but Cam Lewis filled in admirably, for sure. Had to step up and play a lot of the snaps, play, the extra safety, the nickel corner, because the Bills run so much nickel. Great job. Even on a play that I think it's not lost, but I think that he had a huge hand in, doesn't get lost because it's at the end of the game where Marvin Harrison is just running wide open, where I don't know what happened, if that's a safety's responsibility or Douglas jumps on something, but Marvin Harrison is wide open. And if you see like a certain angle, you can tell Kyler is kind of paying attention over there, but Cam Lewis comes rushing at him from the right, and that's where Marvin Harrison is, and he jumps. And he leaps in the air. And he doesn't get there. The lineman just kind of pushes him, but he can't really throw the ball over Cam Lewis. And I think that's just kind of like a lost part of the game. Not, like I said, not lost, but like maybe an underappreciated just play by Cam Lewis. So he's been in the system for a while. So I'm pretty confident in him. I'm not gonna, crown him an all-pro or anything like that, but I'm confident with him having to play in Taron Johnson's absence. You saw the limitations on why I don't like Kyler Murray, by the way. I talked last week about why I don't really like him. Just wasn't. I mean, can he see Marvin Harrison? I know I just credited Cam Lewis for that play, but like, can he actually see Marvin Harrison? It's not his fault Marvin Harrison dropped that one target, of course. That was a 15-yard play that Harrison just flat out drops, but I mean, he's just limited. Kyler is limited, and it could be related to his height. It's not his fault, but just could be. But he's a freak athletically out there on the field, of course. One of the shiftiest, hardest to bring down quarterbacks out there, but you can tell he's limited as a passer. It's just a hard truth. Anyway, Bills moved to 1-0. Three-way tie in the AFC East currently. The Jets lost to San Francisco on Monday Night Football. The Patriots, shockingly, I would say shockingly, sorry about your survivor pool if you picked them. Thankfully, I did not. The Patriots shockingly won at Cincinnati, so they're still doing the Bills a little bit of a favor there because Cincinnati, you expect, will probably be in the playoff race, come December and January. So thank you for that. Patriots might have a sneaky good defense too, and they basically showed the Bengals their hand. They're like, hey, at least at the end of the game, we're going to run the ball. Bengals couldn't stop it. We're just going to run the ball and try to go home. Bengals were like, okay, here's 7 yards every time. It was really a bad job. Really poor job by the Bengals, of course. I don't know how that's even debatable. But the other team in the AFC East, of course, the Miami Dolphins, they staged a comeback win of their own at home on opening day against Jacksonville. And I think they're getting a little too much credit for that. Granted, I don't... I was just imagining people being mad about that and being like, oh, you're an idiot. The Dolphins did great for this. Because that's just how the internet typically is. Trevor Lawrence didn't really have a great game. The Jags didn't really have a great game. They played pretty well defensively. I mean, they really only gave up a couple of big plays in the passing game that ended up being backbreakers. That, if you think about the 80-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill. But other than that, there was the one long play to Waddle, and there was Achane had a nice catch and run too. I think that was a short play. Now I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I think it was like a short catch and run. So Tua really only completed 2 passes that were significantly downfield, and both of them mattered, of course. I'm not going to take away his 2 best plays. I don't like doing that because, of course, take away the Bills' 2 best plays from Sunday, the game's probably different, entirely different. But the Dolphins struggled throughout much of that game. And I'm not saying that the Jaguars didn't, but they're getting credit. I'm just seeing stuff like, oh, it was Tua's halftime speech that really rallied the guys and stuff like that. Spare me. Then why did you come out of the third quarter flat? Why were you about to allow a 96-yard touchdown drive until ETN fumbles into the end zone and changes the complexity of the game? Great job by Javon Holland, by the way, to punch that out, because that might have been the kill shot for Jacksonville. Miami had just been totally lifeless, and that just kind of woken them out of their trance. So great job by Javon Holland. They have talented players on defense, despite the fact that Christian Wilkins left. That could be a factor for the Bills on Sunday. Christian Wilkins was an agitator of Josh, and maybe that worked him up a little bit. But you know what? I still think Jalen Ramsey is also one of Josh's agitators ever since the whole trash comment from his rookie year. I think that still weighs on Allen a little bit. So I'm certainly not worried about his motivations. And Jordan Poyer's back there, old friend Jordan Poyer. Poyer and Holland, pretty good safety tandem back there. So again, it's only been one game. I talked about the Tua not really hitting too many deep plays, but the big ones are backbreakers. Jacksonville's just they're so Jacksonville. I'm starting to think that Doug Peterson might just be an average coach who kind of lucked his way into a Super Bowl. I had Nick Foles and we got disgustingly hot at the right time and we won the Super Bowl. Because this should be working better for Jacksonville and for Trevor. He shouldn't be completing 12 passes for 160, 170 yards or whatever it was. Not when you're making 55 mil, sorry, or whatever much he's making, 50 or 55 mil. Same thing could be said about Tua, to be honest with you. He shouldn't be throwing everything to the flat, probably. He's been one of the best spot throwers in the league over the past, well, at least over last year, where I believe he led the league in passing yards last year. I think that's correct. Passing yards and completion percentage, I think. I should have looked that up before saying that, but I think that's correct. Fact check me. Anyway, this is like Miami's, I don't want to say Super Bowl, but like Miami is in the position where they really need to put up or shut up. Step up or shut up. And they've kind of embraced that. I've listened to them talk when they're not talking about what happened to Tyreek Hill before last week's game, which is obviously just a ridiculous incident that I think could have been handled better by just about everybody involved. By Tyreek, by the police officers, by everybody, okay? Just a total S show. You know, that's what that was. By everybody involved. They spent a lot of time talking about it, though. And it's possible that it could be a distraction for them. I would like to think that McDaniel, it keeps them focused enough on the task at hand. I saw after the game in the locker room, after the Jacksonville game, he said, hey, we have another opportunity in front of us. They weren't talking about the Tyreek Hill thing. He was like, we have another opportunity in front of us. And it felt like the mood got pretty serious at that point. So this is the game, right? This is what the Bills would look at New England like, in a way. And it's not to that level yet, because the Bills have, won like 11 of the last 12 against Miami. So it's not to the 22 out of 23 or... Don't remind me what it is. Don't remind me because I don't want to know. But it's not at that level yet. But it's the same principle, if that makes any sense. I still think Josh Allen's the best player on the field for either team. So I expect it to be close, of course. I'm thinking of a score in my head right now. See, I'm back and forth. I'm battling myself. I would say I give a slight edge to Miami, to be honest with you, because why? Why do I even give a slight edge to Miami? I guess it's just like a gut feeling. But I'm going to pick the Bills. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a field goal. I'm going to say a field goal either way. But I'm going to pick the Bills because I'm a Bills fan. True homer. Bills, 27-24. Guys, hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game. As always, above all else, go Bills.